Hello there survivors, and welcome to another build video in ARK Survival Ascended. I made the ultimate cave bunker tech base on Ragnarok, and it's really been a fun project to work on. I already made part 1 on how to follow along to either build this one yourself in the exact same position, or at least learn something from the design language that I use whilst designing a base like this. And this is the part 2. So this is the other side of the cave with a big main entrance for your biggest creatures, so carcass, gigas, and other big dangerous creatures that you might want to bring into your base, do breeding with. This bunker should offer enough space for all of those creatures. So in this video you can follow along and see the design language that I used for that base. Then there's also the main base in the middle of this cave, which is actually a separate tutorial that you can already check out on my channel. And of course, if you want to see the whole build in more detail, follow along with the whole tour, that is also already a separate video available on the channel too. Of course, if you enjoy seeing these kinds of bigger build projects, make sure to like the video, really appreciate it if you do, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. With that being said, let's get into this build. This is the area that we'll be working on today. So this is the other side of the cave. The idea is here to make a nice big entrance. I think for this entrance we're going to make it closable, so we're going to have a behemoth gate. That's kind of what I lined out, and I've already laid down some of the foundation as well as started on the initial design to kind of think what it's going to look like. As you can see, it's quite tall near the back. It's going to of course be a lot less tall down here at the front, so we're kind of going to work on that. So the idea is behemoth gate to get inside. We're going to have some of these separate spaces on the side where we can have carcass, gigas, and even the big Al wax Spino, which is basically a Spino but then giga size and quite strong, so it's quite cool. And then we'll have an entrance somewhere here leading into this ramp to the rest of the base. So that's the plan that we're going to start with today, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, let's get started with some actual building. Now let's talk about what I've done in preparation. So basically right over here is where I started lining out these foundations in such a way that it kind of lined up with the side of the cave. So laying down this foundation first, I had 4 of them next to each other before we get to this one. So this is the 5th. And then in the 5th, basically what I did is go half a foundation down. So if you don't know, if your foundation is high enough, and that's why we started on these rocks, if your foundation is high enough, you can snap to the halfway point with the same foundation and then lower them basically, which is what I've done here. And these are now 8 foundations in between. So 8 foundations lower down before we started the other line, which is exactly the same, just so that we can have a behemoth gate in there. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 foundations before one sticks out, and that's what we did a few times. So we have 4 of them, then one of these foundations, another 4, so that's already 2, 3, 4, 5 of these sections on this one side before I built the whole divider wall, which I'm going to show you exactly how we built that in a little bit. And then on the other side we attempted to do the same. We couldn't quite make it all the way, as you can see. So the last pillar here is kind of embedded in the natural pillar, which I kind of like because it feels more like we are embracing the existing bunker structure. And then, well, a quick glance at what we're gonna be building. So this is the dividing wall, as you can see, quite tall, so there's plenty of room to park one carca or giga inside. We've got some of these awesome vents, of course, of the bunker structures. And then, at least for these at the back, where we have enough height, we're also having some flyer parking, quite big, so even bigger flyers like these modded dragons can easily be parked inside. And then on top, I decided to go for the grass look, just to bring in a little bit of greenery and a little bit of color here into the cave. Technically, I guess I could still park things up there if I really wanted to, but that's kind of the vibe that we're going for. Here at the front, this is of course where we want to have our behemoth gate. So what we want to do is we want to snap it to these foundations. As you can see, I've laid down two wide foundations. So again, you have the 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where the first layer goes, and then the fifth layer is also there, so that the foundation or the behemoth gate itself can be in the middle of those two lines of foundations. And from this line is where we start to count for these side parts. That's how I laid it all out, and that's how we're gonna get this gate in here. And then we'll try to actually get a nice gateway in the middle, which should hopefully eventually make sure that I can keep things out. I'm not sure if we'll always keep it closed because, well, we do like some light getting in. So we might also keep it open some of the time. For now, let's grab some of our building tools so that we can get started on our build. Let's get some stuff on the hotbar here to get started. Let's see, what else would we need? That's probably most of it for now, I think. Those going on, because that's then the top of the first layer of the large wall, which means, well, we'll probably just stick on this side so we can see it easily. We'll fill in these sloped walls, and then just the side of this wall in general. And I think we'll do the same thing over here. I guess this is 4 high, so we might as well... Did I use a large wall here? Nope. But we definitely can. Saving on some structures is always nice if you're building on this scale. Especially if you're on the server with more people, of course. So we'll start filling in this as far as we can. Getting those slopes ready. There we go. So I feel like, yeah, that kind of makes this feel a little bit more reinforced. I think we'll close the gate for now so we can get a better view of it, because now you can see, yeah, it sticks out from the gate itself, which gives it a lot more depth, which I quite like the look of. I think we'll go for some ramps here in the front to kind of connect it back to the ground. Of course, we have some of these rocks. I don't think I could take any of those away. I've already kind of mined everything away that we could. So now we could pretty much do the same thing here on this side. So first of all, we'll have the large walls going up. And in this case, I guess that goes up quite high before it reaches the end. I don't think we're going to have a second foundation there. I don't think that's going to be possible, but we're still going to try and make it too wide. We kind of have the waterfall coming down on that, but that's totally fine. I think we definitely like the waterfall being there, so we'll embrace that in our design. And this one is going to be falling a little bit more into the side of the cliffs and the mountain, which is totally fine, which is what we expect from a cave bunker build anyway, right? So yeah, we expect it definitely to be heavily connected to the existing cave and structure. So we want to make sure that this gets the right height. Why can I not? I don't think I can get that snap point that I want. Oh, this lower one I'm not allowed to snap, so I don't know. I guess we'll keep it like that in this case. We can fill in the rest of this, of course. Trying to fill in these side details, and then we can of course have that line going on, giving us quite a good view of the entrance already, kind of filling in this side of the cave, making sure it's completely secure, which also means we're going to start filling in this side, but that side is probably already going to follow this design. So yeah, you can see what we've got going on here is a very big wall. That's probably what we're going to try and do, which, I mean, it's just going to start with some large walls here, because we don't really need to build it out anywhere. So I guess all we'll really do is just fill up this whole wall. And we might add some details on the outside, because it is quite a big wall still. Like, quite a lot of things are still visible here, even though the other side, nothing really is happening there, because there we are instantly already in the wall. So I guess that's what we would do to add some details. We'll open the gate again so that we can get outside. There we go. Yeah, we probably want to have some kind of detail there, just because otherwise it's a little bit boring. It's a little bit flat. Let's also take out some of the bunker cosmetics so that we can start skinning some of this build. So we'll take out the default one and the construction one. This one we want to use on these beams to make sure that those are looking that part. There we go. That might give us a little bit better views. And yeah, so we definitely want to skin the gate. I think that's going to look quite nice. Is that the other side that looks more reinforced? Yeah, I really like that side. Is there a way to flip that skin? Oh, there's not. Can I flip the gate somehow to flip that skin? There we go. Because I kind of like that more, even though that might make more sense on the inside. I think that's kind of what we want. There we go. Yeah, that's quite nice. A nice big gateway to open it. Let's close it for now so that we can fill in the rest of these structures. I think these floors we're gonna also change to the construction look. I think that looks pretty good. And then the rest of this, of course, will change to the bunker look, which gives us that recognizable design we have used quite a bit, but I don't know, I just really like the textures on this. It's definitely one of my favorites at the moment to use, and especially here in this cave. Like, I've been so excited to finally start this project and do some cool builds, and I definitely am very happy with the way this base is going. There we go. I think that's enough. We don't really need any more details going on there. We can just kind of change all these parts to the right bunker look. There we go. So that's the whole entrance. You know there's a bunker. You can't quite see what's inside, but there's a lot waiting on the inside, that's for sure. Might add some turrets here eventually as well to kind of give ourselves a little bit more protection, because I kind of want to leave the gates open sometimes to let in the light, but then we need to make sure that we have some protection going on. I do kind of want to have something here just to make sure that we we actually have a little bit of detail, basically. So what I might do is add a little thing that sticks out like that. Do I want to build it like this, or do I want to keep it flat at the top? I think I might want to keep it totally flat at the top, to be honest. I think that might be nicer. There we go. Or well, I guess what we could also do is just make sure that this continues further upward. Just goes all the way up. Yeah, that might be the way to go. We'll change all of these to the bunker look. Although I do need... Yeah, this does need to be normal structures, because I do want to change one of this to a vent, of course. There we go. We want to have the cycle gun. This does not have my outlines. It's not the one I want. There we go. So we want to change these variants until we get to the spinning fan. Oh god, I went too far. That's the annoying part. If you make a mistake. There we go. So yeah, we'll have a fan spinning there because that kind of adds a little bit of extra life to the whole build, I think. And that's pretty much all we need. Like, you don't see a lot from this bunker on the outside. I think that's pretty much what we need. So let's open the gates. Let's change the rest of these foundations too. Get that look going. And then on this side, we'll also have the, not the roofs, the ramps going back into the ground, because I'm not going to have the whole middle of this place foundations, because that's kind of just wasting a lot of extra structures on something we don't need. We have big creatures here. They can work perfectly fine here on the middle floor, and we're not going to build something above the middle anyway. So we should be totally fine on snap points. So there we go. We can kind of start to work on the divider walls, I guess. So we want to start with adding these two walls in this shape for all of these little foundations that are sticking out. So every time there's a gap of 4 between the different parts of this, which is exactly where we're going to be able to park all of these bigger creatures. And we should be able to have quite a few of these bays. Hopefully we can use most of them. Some of them, of course, were a little bit... well, dependent on what size the cliff gives us, but the middle will also give us a bunch of space to breathe in, which is gonna be great. So then we want to add these slope walls to the end of it. There we go. Just like that. And then of course we want to have a roof right down the middle, and that's the start at least of all of these divider walls that we're working on. Then very important, of course, is that we're gonna also have this divider wall next to the entrance. So next to the entrance it's a little bit easier because we kind of can just start with our large walls going from one side to the other. but we do want to add those all in. And then we also shouldn't forget about adding them right there, because otherwise there's still going to be a gap between our gate and the actual structure. So we want to make sure that we have that corner there. We're of course not going to have the little thing in the front that sticks out like these ones, but we still want to at least build that dividing wall there. Then we can also take out our large walls again for these other sections, and we can start filling them all in so that we can basically start, well, dividing all of these places up. And hopefully support wise will be all good. There we go. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna just do this first, the one side first, and then we'll start focusing on the other side, since the other side is also gonna have that big gate in it. It's gonna be a little bit different. This one is gonna be exactly similar to what I've done in preparation of today, so it shouldn't take too much time. So for now, we're just going across each of these divider walls to make sure that we can add in all of the structures. There we go. And I kind of parked down all these big creatures here already so that we have a little bit of a size reference, so you can see exactly when the building that we're working on is big enough for the creatures that you might want to house in a build like this. There we go. And again, these streams aren't meant necessarily as like a step-by-step tutorial to follow along, unless you really want to live in this exact cave, of course. But more so, they're supposed to show you the kind of design language that I've used for this bunker in general, as well as just show you kind of the process of how I create these builds. So now we'll have the 3 walls going up after the roof. Bring up all these sections. So now these ones also should raise up, so that should be 2 higher than where we were. Actually, we probably, for the entrance, we probably can just do another large wall. Maybe not on this side because it's not high enough. But over here we can probably get away with another large wall so that we just save on our structures a little bit. Because that's kind of all we need there to fill that in. So yeah, now you can already start to see all of these different dividers. Let's finish up the entrance here, because I'm fairly sure that if we just have some of these large walls, then we'll have exactly what we need to fill up the entire entrance, and we don't need to worry about the entrance anymore, because I think for both sides at least they should be plenty high enough. So we'll have the little dividing line of these beams, of course, to set them apart, and then we'll have the large walls on top of that, and that should fill in the entire wall. So the entrance side we don't have to worry about. We can focus on these dividers that we'll have in between. So we'll take out our roofs again. We want to bring the roof out, flip it around again, and basically bring back out this whole thing, which basically means that we went in by 1 and now we're going out again. And then on top of that roof is where we want to have a large wall. So this is how we go up in height again. There we go. Oh, this one did not go in the right spot at all. There we go. So yeah, you can see at the front we're already hitting the roof, which is totally fine. It's going to save us a bunch of structures. Here, these 2 we're probably going to build up to pretty much the entire height, just like that one. So once again, we'll bring out our roofs and we'll add one going out like this. We won't be able to do it on the front, so we won't need to. Then we'll bring out a wall, which we can have on top of all of these. There we go. And then we kind of just want to bring this in all the way to the well, the side of the cliff again. So we're going to just build these roofs up until it kind of goes into the cave side. And we don't need to worry about it anymore. Those big dividing walls. There we go. So that's the entire height of the wall. As you can see, rather large. You could, of course, instead of having this large wall here, you could instantly go with the roofs. If you only want to go for Giga and Karcha well, storage, I suppose. If you don't want to have these additional flyer parking spots, you could totally do that. Save a little bit of structures. Depends on what your personal needs are, of course. All right, so now that we have all these walls in, on top of these large walls, we can have a layer of beams going across. So we'll do that for all of these wall segments that we're working on. There we go. All the way across. And we'll do it for this one too. So all of them should now have the nice beam going across. And then on top of that, we'll add more large walls. As you can see. Wait, why is that not the same height? Oh wait, this is lower. Did I do something different? How did I do that? Oh, I think this goes down. I think the first layer... Oh, the first layer is not this high. Yeah, the first layer... Okay, we did something wrong. The first layer apparently isn't 4 high, but 3 high. So I'm gonna have to change these dividers. Sorry about that. I thought I did it all with large walls, but apparently not so much for the first layer. Why is this still attached? There we go. So the fronts should be right. Just these dividing walls apparently are not 4 high, but 3 high. So we're going to have to change that. I'm not sure why I would have done that. I guess we'll find out eventually. Probably somewhere higher up. Okay. So for now, we'll get all the large walls out of here so that we can rebuild the walls. I think we can leave them at the front wall though, because that's kind of different anyway. So we might as well keep that. So yeah, instead, I guess we're going to go 3 high. Yeah, it's going to have to be the height of this sloped wall. So we want to build those going across, I suppose. There we go. Yeah, which means that these beams should align again with where that roof is for that first layer. And then everything else is gonna align just fine. And there we go. Hello, there we go. Please, thank you very much. Why am I stuck? ARK is flawless game all the time. So yeah, we'll bring these across. Luckily, we don't need too many structures here because most of this is gonna end up in the cliffside rather soon anyway. Just a few where it goes a little bit deeper, but nothing too crazy, fortunately. There we go. Awesome. So yeah, then we'll have the beams, of course, going across the tops of these sections again. Not there, please. Awesome. And then the final one here. There we go. So yeah, we'll bring these all across until they're all the right height this time. I mean, I guess you could use large walls. You just have to snap them to the same height as the slope wall, so they'll... Is that overlapping with the foundation? I'm not quite sure if that would count as overlapping. But I guess that way... Yeah, that's what I did here, right? Because this is 3 height, but it is a large wall. So I just... The large wall goes into the foundation by 1, which is a way to, I guess, save some extra structures if you really want to. Which I might do later on. But for now, we'll continue on top of these beams. We can, in fact, add in the large walls. So that is going to go 4 higher now. And then I think... Oh, we can't really fit another wall back there, so I'm gonna have to do it with this. So yeah, again, we'll just bring in all these walls 4 high to get the right height for these big creatures in here. There we go, that's looking nice. And of course, using the large walls also just really helps speeding along the build process for these dividers. Which is why they look quite big, but in the end it's not that bad because of all these large walls we end up using for it. So yeah, once we've done that, we do want to bring back that divider with a nice beam going across. And then here in the front, of course, we want to make sure that we also have our slope wall. And then we can connect that beam all the way through. So we'll do the same thing over here. All the way back into there. Could we add a large wall there? Yeah, we can. So we might as well do that. Probably want to add another here. Just like so. And then, of course, add in the slope walls. Bring back this entire wall into the cliff. There we go. And then the final one here. We can do the exact same thing. Just so that we can get those dividers all in place. So yeah, there we go. Now it should look something like this. The next layer, as you can see, is another layer of large walls because we're building quite high and we want to just save on structures as much as possible. So on top of these beams, we want to add in our large walls again, 4 high, bringing these dividers further up the side of the cave. There we go. And we might be able to add one more back there to make sure that we're still all connected into the cliff, because in certain places the cliff, of course, goes back a little bit further, which just gives us a bit more space on the inside, of course, for our creatures. There we go. Bringing that all across. And then this one over here. All the way in. Well, that actually already connects up to the top quite easily. So that wall is already kind of completely done after all that. The other ones now, of course, become a little bit more interesting because of the shape that's going on. But first, it's just going across with some beams from start to finish. We do this because the large walls with the bunker skin get those nice things drooping down, and it makes a little bit more sense if there's something like a beam in there where it's kind of dripping from, so to say. So we want to do that for all of these sections. Then, of course, bring in the slope walls here, and we can actually bring those slope walls all the way along the side of this, wherever it lets us. It won't let us everywhere when it's going into the landscape, of course, but at least it will give us something. And I think then right over here, that's where we have a large wall. I think we have a normal wall first, don't we? I think we might have. So I think we might have a layer of normal walls first. Because this kind of is going up to the top height, right? So we want to have a layer of normal walls. And then we can have some large walls over there, over here. Again, going into that landscape as far as we can. It's really unfortunate that that one is not allowing me to place it, but for all of the others that don't quite fit the large walls, we'll of course have to fill it up with normal walls to fill up the end of this shape so that we get the whole divider in there, as you can see. And that's what we're going to do for all of these sections. So the first layer is just going to be normal walls regardless, from one side to the next. And then of course we'll have the slope walls at the end too. We'll do the same thing over here, bring that all the way across. There we go. And then on top of this, nope, don't snap into it, snap onto it. There we go. That should be 4 high. And we'll do that for those that we can. And then we can fill in the rest of this slope going up. Can't do the last one, unfortunately. And then over here, of course, we can also fill in whatever we can. We have the first layer of normal walls. That's not the right height. Well, it's quite easy to check, I suppose. If we see the pattern being in the right spot, it should be the right height. There we go. I think there's going to be one more full wall here. And then the rest of these is going to be normal walls, just like that. There we go. So we only need to fill in these walls over here. So again, we want to have the full wall going up across this section. Well, this one, at the end, we can probably just do a single wall just to play it safe. We can check the patterns to see if they're all correctly lining up. And then we can do it the same way here at the end, making sure it doesn't overlap. Then over here, still a decent amount of space, to be honest. Not that bad. It's more going to be the height there. But I think you can still get most lies in there. So we have those now, and then we want to take out our ramps. So basically what we do is we have a layer of ramps coming from this to kind of round this off a little bit. Give it a little bit of a softer edge, as you can see with that original. Then we want to go back to the roofs, and we want to snap them underneath, basically. So to bring it back, a little bit of the sharper edge. Oh, we got a Spino in our face. There we go. And then again, yeah, we could build something up here, but there's no way we're going to use it, so we might as well save the structures and not build anything at all. So now the next layer is actually just going to be some ceilings going across. So we kind of want to flat this layer out and just bring these ceilings all the way across from one side to the next. We'll do that, of course, for all of these. So just bring those across. This is also a great place for like a little tech light if you want to light up your creature inside. I think I did that over here. So yeah, right in the middle, we can have a little tech light. We'll also have that support in a little bit, but first off, we're going to build the curve back up. So basically, in order to save on some structures, instead of continuing these ceilings all the way, we're going to just connect this back up to the main structure. So we're going to have roofs, and then we're going to have a layer of ramps so that it instantly connects back up to the original layer, just saving us a bunch of structures. So again, a layer of ramps, and then in between there's a layer of roofs. There we go. Same over here. A layer of roofs. And a layer of ramps wherever it lets us. There we go. So I have a kind of a little curve going on. It's just to save the most structures because we don't want to place down more than we really need. And then we have this supportive part, which is kind of easy to make. We want to have those walls like this. So 3 walls there. Then we can have some slope walls underneath it. And then, of course, we want to take out our roof, flip that around, and fill that all in. Then we can change the skins, and if you're using the bunkers, you can use this one. And that was as a vent, so that it kind of looks like it's pulling and blowing air around, which is quite nice. And it gives this whole entrance a little bit more of a shape to it for your creature. So that's definitely something we want to do for all of these sections. So first of all, we'll start by adding in these walls. So kind of creating those little cubes around the side of the build. There we go. Awesome. So we'll do that for every one of these that has something above it, of course. Now you could still add it here if you really wanted to, but since we don't have anything above it, it's just easier not to do it. But if you want to keep the symmetry going, of course you can do it, but you have to kind of change it around. So you have to kind of start. Oh no, you can't even do it because it's on a different snap point. Like it's a quarter wall below that. So you'd have to lay down the ceilings and get back down like that because it's on the lowest snap point. So you're probably better off not doing it if the landscape won't allow it, because that's going to be a lot of structures just for a little extra bit. I'll probably just leave it out, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to add in all these slope walls to create our nice shapes. There we are. Then we can bring out our roofs to finish those sections. There we go. Just like that. So now we have the bottom layer is all done. So all these parking spots are now in place. And we have the platforms for flyers in place too. Now we want to start working on creating this little roof section. So first of all, we want to create this platform. So this is a 3 wide platform going all the way from the front to the inside. So we'll take out some ceilings. Again, it's going to be 3 wide. And it's going to connect these fronts of the building. So we'll just add all of those in. And again, it's optional because technically you don't really need anything above this. You could also keep it open. If you want to maybe save on the structures, of course, you could just leave out the roof part and only have the dividing walls. Still looks pretty cool, but I just wanted to add in a little bit of that extra greenery to really help out. Now, if you want to save on structures, you could actually leave out a lot of these ceilings because really all you need is the ramps. And to get the ramps, you could also just have beams going across and then attach the ramps to it. But because I want to keep this texture in here instead of the texture for the roof skins that I used, that's why we're building this. But again, optional if you don't mind that necessarily, or you want to save on structures. For now, I'm going to try it. If I'm really getting an issue with too many structures here, I might still remove it. But for now, we're just going to fill this in with ramps. So from the end of the ceilings, we just want to kind of go up into the cliff. Now, the first section is quite easy because there's a lot of cliff there, so not a lot is needed. And then for this, we actually want to have 4 layers of these ramps at max. So that is how far we would go no matter what. This is also kind of how far this goes in the first place, but at the end of those 4, you would always go back into ceilings. So even if this would go on for a long time, you would always kind of go back into the ceilings after those 4. So we'll do the same thing over here. Probably again gonna quite quickly run into that landscape already, so I don't think we'll need to worry too much at this section because I can't get much further than the 3 that we have now. So yeah, that kind of already fills it all in and nothing else to worry about. And then we'll have another layer of ramps on top here, which is going to be the grass layer, to add again a little bit of greenery in here, because I think that will be just nice to have, nice to look at when moving around in here, you know, bringing a little bit of life into this cave, which is kind of what I tried to do with a lot of the different parts of the bunker. You know, it's already quite dark and gloomy in a cave, you know, quite quickly. A bunker isn't the most cheerful thing. I think adding in that little bit of grass makes it a little bit more friendly and more cozy feeling, which is kind of the vibe that I'm looking to add. And also, I mean, to be fair, there's also bunkers where like part of it is just like, you know, a grass layer growing over it, right? So also kind of ties back to that, I suppose. So yeah, we have those sections, and of course for this small section we still want to have some of these in place, even though a lot of this is already very much into the actual cliff and cave, so we don't need that much to fill it all in. We can take out our beams, and then we can have a layer of these beams going across the front of these buildings, or this line. And then what I did is using the astral cosmetics on them to make them stick out. If you don't have that, but you do have the bunker one, you can of course also just go for the bunker skin instead. But yeah, there we go. That is already kind of exactly how we build these structures. Of course, we can then go ahead and change this all to the bunker skin. Don't forget to add in the vents. I don't think I'll go ahead and change all this to vents now, because changing variants takes a lot of time, but at least we'll get the general look in place so that we kind of know what this place will look and feel like. So there we go. That's the first section. And of course, the underneath here is also going to be the bunker skin. So we can change all this to keep that bunker feeling going. Why am I stuck again? ARK, please just behave. There we go. Very nice. And of course we'll do that for all of these sections. Kind of filling these in. Going across from one side to the other. There we go. That looks quite nice indeed. We'll do that for one more. We are actually also going to add in a little bit of supports for these flyer spots. So in a little bit, once we've at least changed these skins here on the interior, we can add those details. So yeah, now we've changed the skins for the inside of these flyer park spots. Well, we kind of need to change that as well, I guess. But maybe we'll add these because you can see we have a little bit of a detail going on here too. So what we want to do is 2 walls coming down there. So this is right on the edge of this little platform. And we'll have that coming down just like that. And again, we're going to have to do this for each of these, of course. Bringing in a little bit more shape to these sections. These are going to be too low, and then of course we're going to have the ramps to finish that section off. There we go. Place all of those down, and then the last one over here. Don't think we'll be able to do the other one because that's of course already the cliff itself, so we can just add these supports. Don't want that. So again, this just gives a little bit more shape to the entrances of all of these flyer parkings. There we go, and you can see one of these will change to the vent, just to get a little bit more details and variations going, but also to add some movement to the build, which is a really cool thing, of course, of these bunker skins. There we go. So now that we have those, we can change all of this to the right skin. Again, I'm not going to add in the vents just now because changing the variants will just take a bunch of extra time. But we are getting very close to having these bunkers on this side, all these Dino Pen parking spots done, which is quite good. There we go. So yeah, that's starting to look very, very nice. Want to make sure that we, of course, change the look of all of these. And don't forget the inside there so that they also look nice. There we go. Awesome. All the way. These supports as well, of course. Okay. There we go. So yeah, now we have all the shapes in place. We can kind of see what it feels like. And again, if you want to, here in the middle, great spot for a little tech light to add in a little bit of light to each of these parking bays. If you want to, you can see a little bit of nice light here on the Karcha to make it less dark. I'll leave that up to you, whether or not you want to add that. And then for the rest of these skins, I've used the Astral cosmetic. If you use the furniture skin, you actually get these nice beam variants, which are really cool. Sometimes they might be facing the wrong way, then you can rotate them 180 to get the right ones. And then the middle ones I like to change to these, so that looks like some kind of electricity or like pipes going through, which is quite a cool detail, I think. And then the Cozy Cabins cosmetic has these really nice grass textures. Of course, you could paint thatch instead, or see if you can find a different cosmetic, but that's the one I use, and that's the one that looks really, really good because it has a bunch of little details and textures in there to make it look like proper grass. And it's just a nice addition to add in some green to these bunkers, as you can see. So that's what we're gonna do for this entire section, bringing that all the way up, and that will give us this very nice bunker wall with well, 4 parking bays, 5 kind of. I don't think you can get a full car show giga in there because of the landscape, but you could still get some creatures in there. And of course the whole middle will have plenty of space and a bunch of flyers, like 4 flyer spots. That's still pretty good too. And technically, I guess you could have something on top there if you really wanted to, if you really needed to. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the way that's looking so far. So now we want to make sure that we add entrances to all of these. We're just going to use some stairs coming down from those foundations for all of these little bays. And then over here, we actually want to make sure that we change that look. And if we can, we'll place down rest of the base, so we want to keep that open. We are going to add those, so we can then of course make these slopes, and we'll see how that's going to end up. But for now, we'll just fill that all in, add our roofs on top. There we go. That probably means we'll have stairs coming down from this all the way through, so that we can use those sections. And I would assume we're going to use stairs here, because that is definitely going to be a dino parking spot. And this one probably also will. This one, obviously, you can't really use that, so we don't need to place anything down there. And then we're going to try and not forget about this side, filling in a little sloped wall there, if it lets us. And we might as well also skin this entire wall, the front wall facing the entrance. There we go. Also making sure that we have that beam, and then we can fill at least that whole layer in, so that the wall to the entrance with the nice big gate is completed. Then of course it's time to, well, make sure that we have these divider walls up like the other side. So we have 3 walls here in the middle. There we go. Just like that. And then of course this is going to have another staircase or roof coming back out. just as we did before. And above that, we should be able to have a large wall going up. There we go. So far, so good. For the first one, that's kind of it. That's all we'll need. For the other ones, there's going to be a little bit more. So we'll have the roof coming one forward. Then we'll have a full wall going up from there. And this is where it's going to get interesting. This one is kind of going into that landscape. This one remains to be seen, because this could go quite far. But the real question is, of course, down below. How far can we go? So I think for now we'll keep it at 3. And I think the real question is going to try and design this entrance in such a way that it works. And then we can kind of take it from there. So first of all, I think we'll fill in all of these middle parts with foundations as far as they go, and they should kind of go up into that landscape. So now you could walk your creature up here and you could continue the path up into the cave, which is kind of what we want. But obviously we want this to look nicer. So what we do then is, I'm just going to use large walls here if it lets me. Might have to do this. So that is 5 if I do that. If I delete this, is it going to delete the walls? Yes, it is. So yeah, now it's large walls. That worked somehow. And the reason I'm using large walls is just to gonna save on structures that way. So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is that kind of what we want to do? I think maybe we can go a little bit further. So that's 6. And that's 7. Maybe we go for 7 in total. Doesn't go all the way down, but that's fine, I think. So yeah, we'll have that. We'll have these. And then this probably will follow the same kind of pattern. So we'll have those 3 going up. We'll have that one coming out. We'll have the large wall going forward. And then from here, there's a roof going out by 1. Then we'll have that. And I guess that means that's where the roof would start. So right now we're about 1. What do we have? We have 1, 2, 3 in. But we also went out by 2. So we're 1 in, basically. We're right there. Should be at least. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we have probably 2 more of those before you would go flat. Would you go? No, it probably would go flat after this, because then you would have 3 of those. And then this. Yeah, that would line up with the other side. So that would be the full structure, which we won't quite see, of course, because, I mean, the cliff and the cave is there, which is totally fine. But at least that gives us the structure we need. So after this, of course, we'll have a beam going across. Should have a layer of large walls there, which we then have a slope wall at each end with a layer of beams going across, and then another layer of large walls, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so far so good, right? Like, this is all lining up nicely, looking the same. So then we can have the slope walls going in. Then we can also have a layer of walls just going across here. And now we probably want to do it like that. Like have the large walls coming down from there. And fill the rest in with normal walls. There we go. Some slope walls along the side. There we go. So yeah, that's probably the biggest wall that's going to be visible, because that's in the highest part of the cave pretty much. But we're going to build some kind of entrance between these, which is going to add a bunch of detail. So I guess now we also just want to kind of fill in this side. So I guess probably the easiest way would just be like this. Get some large walls in there. And as soon as it's attached, should be able to remove that. There we go. Bring a beam across from one side to the other. Large walls. Or slope walls on both sides. There we go. And then we'll have another layer of beams. So yeah, this is definitely the largest wall here. This supporting wall. Like, I don't know if we would want this to go all the way into the top of the build, but we don't really need to anyway. There we go. Awesome. All right, so that big wall is done. That means let's first do the two little dividing walls that we still have left, so that we can make, well, the little enclosures that we can still have before we worry about the entrance leading to the slope up into the rest of the cave and the rest of the base. There we go. So that one is definitely going to be completely filled in, and I think pretty much this entire spot should be able to be filled in now, because that's all within the boundaries of that place. It's still going to be interesting to see if we're actually going to be able to have a creature here without having to worry, because I don't know, the tails might wiggle into the walkway behind it, but we'll see. All right, so I guess we just want to get that in place. So for now, we'll have a temporary ceiling here so that we can have the large walls, just to save me a bunch of time and structures. So this one is definitely still going to go into the middle here. This one is interesting because this might go all the way. Because yeah, technically that's where another slope wall would be. But I guess it kind of perfectly stops there. But yeah, we can't push it any further than that anyway. We don't want to go any further than that. So now this is going to definitely continue though. And so that same spot. There we go. We can bring that all the way across. This should have the slope walls. And then I guess we're going to have the slope walls on this side as well, because we technically have the tiniest of gaps there. But we could also fill that in with some rocks, to be honest. So I guess we'll have that. And no, there's supposed to be like 3 walls there, isn't it? And technically, oh, there we go. We can have a roof. So above this is going to be the large wall. Then it's going to bring out that one. Bring out the singular wall. And then it should have the roofs going back in. And this is definitely going to end up in the top of the cave. So we don't have to worry about it too much after that layer. But for now, we're going to bring out the beams going across this one. Same over there. And then we can bring out the large walls for this layer for sure. There we go. And another one of these layers. Going all the way across. There we go. Well, we'll have the slope walls at least to start with. We'll do that top section later. For now, we'll also fill in these going across. And this should quite quickly go still into the top layer of the cave, I'm pretty sure. So if we add that one, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and then a slope wall. Yeah, so the rest is we just want to fill in naturally. There we go. There we are. At least that side of the build is filled in now. So we can fill in these sections at least. And also for this side, I'm fairly sure that these should all have... Yeah, these should all go into the swap here, so we don't really need to worry about anything above that layer. This final one won't place, but that is another one of these supporting walls. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that's going to go in here. Like, even this layer for a flyer won't fit there, so it's literally just going to be a dividing wall to keep up with the symmetry of both sides. This one in here, we're going to at least try to keep that a layer where we can also park some dinos inside. So for this one, we want to go up by 1 and then in by 2. So right over here, we should be able to bring that across. Let's see how big that layer would be. So yeah, it wouldn't be the biggest layer, but you could definitely park a flyer in here at least, which is something. We can have the ramps coming down, bring these roofs across. Those going on, and then of course we want to have those supports. There we go. So yeah, we're going to try and make it as similar as the other side as we can, but the big change of course is that we probably will have to have something at the back. Okay, so this layer will have some roofs, and then of course going into some ramps to kind of curve that all up. So that's the same entrance as we have over there. We have over here now. And then I guess the biggest thing is going to be the back. We don't really want to build an entire wall because that's going to cost a lot of structures. So I think what we'll do is kind of keep this open. So we'll just build the same kind of structure and see how that works out for us. Oh, so actually that means that these meet in the middle. So we'll have the ramps gone, and I guess we'll have a layer of ceilings in the middle instead. So they kind of meet in the middle like that, which means we'll have those supports on this side too, to kind of make sure that they are the similar size on both ends. We'll do the same thing. There we go. Because do we really need to keep creatures out? Not really, like, as long as, like, it's just not going to be a walkway, like there's going to be some creatures standing there. So that feels nice and supported. There could be a flyer up there. And then the real question is, are we going to have a roof on top of that? We could, I suppose, because that lines up with that layer, doesn't it? So that would line up with this layer. Oh. Don't really need it in there. So normally that would be 3 layers. There we go. Okay, so we'll change to the ramps and we'll see how far we get. Because we kind of just want to meet in the middle here. There we go. Which I guess also means that we can have the grass on top meet in the middle, which would be something like this then. There we go. I think we're gonna make that work. It's probably gonna be one of the biggest structures in the build. Or at least the tallest. Yeah, it feels big, but it's mostly just very tall, right? Like, and it's a lot of large walls, which saves a lot on structures, of course. There we go. So yeah, that would be a pretty neat flying park spot. Could fly through it. And then we'll have a lovely grass hill on top. We'll have the beams at both ends, of course. There we go. So yeah, that's then gonna be basically that section. What we probably could do, even though we don't have any other sections here, we could probably still connect this. So we'll probably just fill that in. And then we can at least have like the little grass roof on top of here to kind of still tie it together and tie it in. I think that would be nice. And then we can have the beams across, because then at least it feels like it's all tied together. We'll have to have the entrance in here. And then I guess we can work on this divider first before we work on this entrance between these two. So yeah, we'll have the large walls attached to that. We can remove that now. There we go. And this one we should just be able to build back into the landscape again, because this meets up with the wall of the cave without issues. And then we just need to design a nice entrance between the two. And then this whole Giga and Karka pen should be getting quite far along, I think. course, the advantage here is that we don't need to actually build that high until we reach the cave roof. Which means that we're pretty much there now, because these walls will go into the roof of the cave, which will make this all a lot easier. There we go. Kind of means that we won't even really have that platform, I suppose. Also means we won't really have those supports, because it's kind of hard to do. Right, like the snap point would just be kind of different. I guess we could still make that snap point, because it's like, if we wanted, I mean, it's going to only be on one side. Maybe let's not do it. Let's not overcomplicate things, but at least we'll be able to park things in there, which is going to be really, really nice. Probably should skin it all. It's going to take a little bit, but it's probably going to be worth it just to be able to properly view what the whole thing is going to look like. We'll definitely have to change these wood textures to the other variant, but for now, at least we'll just change and apply all the skins. Yeah, I really like the way that shapes this hallway. Definitely feels like a proper bunker if you're looking in it from now. And I love that my personal room is like lined up right in the middle with this all, which is really cool. So yeah, again, if you want to build, I'm going to make a tutorial for this build. What I did was get ceilings over here, start laying down the foundations, and then making sure that wherever I build this room lines up in the middle with this bunker. Which, I mean, that's only important, of course, if you're going to actually try to rebuild this entire cave base, which maybe not. I don't know if people will do that. But that base itself is quite nice, so I'm definitely going to build that separately as a tutorial, because that would be able to be built anywhere. All right, so we have all of the dino parking base that we need now. We have those all in place. So what we really need now is to build this into a nice hallway gateway to the other side. So I think what we're going to do is about there is where... No, we're actually going to come in further. So we're going to come in there. Which also means that hopefully I can bring in these. So yeah, we're going to lay down all the foundations we can. And apparently we didn't quite do that yet. Literally too big. Like size-wise. This goes too far. There we go. Yeah, so I think if we do this, we kind of shape a nice entrance here. Right. Question is, do I really want those beams? Or just like a whole kind of gateway, maybe? Like, do I just build that? Yeah, maybe I do. There we go. So yeah, we can fill in those walls. Just to kind of give that a shape, and I guess we could kind of have Or large walls here, would we? Or is that going too big? How big does this entrance need to be? That is the real question, isn't it? And do we want anything above it? Because right now it's going to be rather big. Or do I want to make it slightly smaller? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I don't know. We'll have to try. So yeah, if we go for this. There we go. We would probably do maybe 2. Bring those back. Kind of just need to shape this out to see what it looks like. And I guess that would go across like that. Did I have a structure there? I did. I mean, that kind of feels like an appropriate kind of entranceway, right? Because it doesn't need to be much bigger than this. I mean, I guess technically we could maybe go for that. So it would be the same as like below. There we go. Something like that. Then it's kind of similar on all ends, right? There we are. We'll just fill all these sections in. Oh, the real question is, what are we going to do on this layer? But I guess that's another thing to find out. It's going to be quite easy because if I place this foundation down there, it should be, yeah, that should be it. There we go. Oh no, we're going to have more trouble now. I guess we can do the same over there. See if that fixes. It doesn't quite fix it. I do need a foundation somewhere here. I guess I could probably fix this by going into Ghosts and getting a foundation there. It's probably what I'm gonna have to do then. Let's see. I don't want to accidentally leak my my password. So I'm just gonna do this. See if I can fix this mistake or all this foundation error. Don't worry, I'll be turning on my screen again right now. Hopefully that has fixed it. There we go. And we should be able to continue on our merry way to actually build something. There we are. There we go. So yeah, we want to change these variants again so that we get the nice glass textures. There we go. Do I want to keep that all windows? I think so, actually. Unless we want to add some details on the inside. Like we could, for example, do that. Maybe that would be nice. Having a little bit of details here. There we are. Yeah, probably that's like the bare minimum we can still put in here to make it a little bit more interesting. So that means that we can keep those as normal roof pieces. Frames the windows a bit. I think that's a good call. There we go. All right, let's change all those up. There we go. I guess we kind of just need to start skinning this entire part so we can judge the look a little bit better, but I think we're pretty happy with this shape in general. There we go. And I guess then next up is filling this roof. Go. I guess we just want to fill in as much as possible. We might do There's a control room above that entrance. Again, not quite sure what we'll use it for other than just powering this section of the base. We'll have a generator there. Don't know if we'll have much more than that, to be honest. But that does give us this section, the giga bunker, the giga Karka bunker side of our base. Should be done now. Oh, look at us, Spino looking at us. So we have a few of these bays at that side. We have 2 of them at this side, unfortunately just 2. Still does give us a decent amount of space, and especially here in the middle, of course, we can still do plenty of breeding activities. Then we have the gateway to the rest of the base, so we can still make it all the way up to our actual base, which is quite nice. And yeah, I think that's it. It's getting somewhere. Yeah, it's pretty much stuck now on my character. All right, so what I want to do now is I have this base. It's lined up with the snap point from this part of the bunker. I want to make a way down there. So I think what I'm going to do first is kind of create a little bit of a pathway here. And then we're going to see if we can get this down a little bit. I think we're going to just have this supported by like pillars for the most of it when we need it. There we go. Because I think we can make this look quite nice, and it will just be convenient to be able to run down there, I think. So that's 4. How am I not allowed to even place a pillar there? That's quite silly, isn't it? There we go. So now I've got that pillar. I should be able to remove those. And I should be able to place those down. So here we can see exactly how far away from the snap point I am. So I'm meeting up here. You can see I'm a quarter wall higher, which is totally fine. We can work with that. I think it means we'll just continue this kind of against that. Which probably means we want to have a pillar here. And we can still not place that. Why can't we place that? Am I going to have like a little silly pillar down there? Just to make sure that there's no gaps there. So yeah, we can have that here, and then from there we'll probably bring those down. There we go. And we of course want to line this up with the whole middle, so that should be the middle, I think. So if I have these stairs coming down, that should be exactly in the middle of the hallway, which is kind of what we want. And again, we'll build the rest of this around it, so we'll continue that. I think we'll continue it backwards as well. Might as well. There we go. So yeah, that we at least have the walkway coming down all the way to the main hallway, which is what we wanted. I think we probably want to add some railings. There we are. Bring this back up, because yeah, this will just be a faster way, of course, to walk down, especially if this is my main house. Run down, get to the gigas. That's just a quality of life kind of thing to have. It's not necessarily the nicest for design, but quality wise is going to save me a lot of time being able to get down there, and I think it's going to still look quite nice with those construction textures. We can actually continue this walkway across here for a little bit, I think. Maybe just like that. And then from here we can see if we take it down 2, that's probably too far. But we can go down for 1. Which probably means we want to have some kind of supportive structures there. And now it's the question, how far do we go with this before we bring some stairs down? Because we could have something like that. I don't know. Kind of depends where we're going, because we're not going straight down. But maybe we could have like a little platform there. It feels like a perfect spot for one more platform. So maybe a cliff platform? I don't think the biggest one would be too big, but the middle one might be good. And if we could line it up here with the middle... That's almost the way I want it. I don't know how... Do I have control? Can I rotate before I place it? Or just... Can't really rotate it. So it's kind of all dependent on where it snaps to. But I don't think we can really change that. So the more important thing is then to try and line it up like this. Now it's just a little bit off, but still looks quite nice, and it would be a nice little spot to park like a flyer closer to the base. So maybe in that case this staircase could work. I guess we could have those little staircases coming down right along the corner, but that's fine. A little bit into the landscape. Yeah, and then we could, of course, have these going around the edges. I think that works. Yeah, we'll have just a little bit of an extra spot to, you know, maybe park that last little flyer that we need closer to home. And we can have these. I probably don't want to have pillars along that side, just because, yeah, that's kind of going to ruin the amount of space I can actually park things with. So now that we have those, I guess we just kind of want to make sure that we change all of the skins on it to get that proper look. And of course also all these pillars. Is that pillar still floating? Yes, it is. And then if you really wanted to build all of this, you could follow along with the 2 streams. For the main building in the middle of the base, that's going to be a separate video. I'm going to make a full tutorial, because this base you could build anywhere. This is not really relying on any of the cave structure. I just thought it would be a nice base in the middle, basically, because that's my personal house. That's where I'm gonna live. That's where I'm gonna do all the things. But yeah, let's take a quick tour. Not the full tour, because we did a full tour at the start, although we might do a full tour. We'll see how we feel. But at least we now have this entrance on this side of the bunker. We have the big behemoth gate here, so we can close up if we wanted to, and we want to be very safe. You cannot see in or out. But most of the time it probably will be open just to let in some actual light into the base. So there we go, and this should give me a decent amount of space for carcasses and gigas and the big L wax bino, and I should be able to do some breeding, probably mostly in the middle of this street. Got the big archway as well to go up to the rest of the base. We got all of these nice sections for these big critters now, as well as some spots for flyers up here too, which is quite cool. And then we have one of these that is see-through that goes in between. We have another small one right over there. So a decent amount of space, I'd definitely say. We have these walkways up to the middle part of the base if I need it. But more importantly, of course, we have this section leading us from the entrance through the cave. For a moment, it might almost feel empty until we get here and we see all of the buildings we've done, including our main base right here, which is looking quite lovely and quite decorated so far. We got our Ragnarok and Mega Raptors breeding in here. So yeah, this is going to be an artifact room, I think, and a trophy room. Maybe even the boss dermises. I don't know if they'll be able to fit inside here, but I guess I've got new challenge of actually doing the bosses and getting the dermises, which is going to be interesting. But yeah, this is the base here. We've got my my breeding, or all my creatures are gonna hopefully sort here. Maybe I'll turn off a new leave and sort my dinos. Got some Cosmos breeding here. And then this, of course, is also where it connects to those walkways. So now you can connect right over here into the giga part of the bunker. And then if we follow this through, there's some tribe quarters up here for my tribe mates. We have the lovely upstairs as well as the little garden up there. But more importantly, we have this really cool building. And especially this shape. Again, gonna make a tutorial of this build. Because it's kind of difficult to see here in the cave. It will be very cool outside. Got a room for my Cosmo friend. And of course, my personal rooms up here. So a little dining room, living room, and then my bedroom back here. We have access to the rooftop if we wanted to. But more importantly, we have some really cool sides. We also have a balcony, by the way, here on the side. And a little pond here, using some crystal cosmetics. And then over here, we have probably the coolest part, which is the gardens with all of the creature displays going on. So all the dermises. We've got Aberration. We've got Scorched Earth. We got, I guess, kind of a combination of Ragnarok and Valgero and a little bit of Astraeus. We have a little bit of a snow biome here. We've got an aquarium going on over there. And then we got a little bit of redwoods over here too. With some more cool creatures and a little bit of swamp actually in the corner. There we go. And then we of course have the main part of the bunker with again our dino parking and our flyer parking on the side all the way through the entrance. And of course, finally, we have my crafting and storage room up here, which I'm moving into. But now we've got the whole bunker done. Quite a nice base in general, and hopefully my console friends can still visit. I think so. Last time it was fine. It's really hard to judge this base because it looks very, very, very big. But because it is a cave, you miss so much structures that you don't have to waste on roofs, on walls, etc. Which I think is going to be the saving grace. It's definitely still a big base, don't get me wrong. But it might be doable. But it's been a very fun project and one I've been looking forward to for a long time. And I'm very happy that I was finally able to do it. And I will be working on the base a little bit more, especially this new section that we've just added back here for the gigas and carcas. I'll be working on detailing that, giving that just the same amount of love as the earlier part of the base. Yeah, it's definitely one of the best bases I think I've made. And I'm very excited to get to use this because this is on my cluster. So I get to use this. You could actually come visit this if you want to, you know, check it out. Info for my cluster is on my Discord. You can just join it and you could just come visit this and see for yourself what this base is like. And have a little walk around and see what it has to offer. But I'm very happy with the result. I hope you liked it as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe. I'll be back with more streams soon. But this kind of distracted me. This was a passion project that I've been wanting to do for a while. And we finally got to do it and have a really cool new base now. So yeah, very excited about that. Thank you all for joining me. I will call it a day for now. But again, hope you enjoyed. And I hope to see you in the next one. The next video or the next stream. Thank you so much. And I'll see you then. Goodbye.